Joining me now from our bureau in Washington, D.C., investigative reporter at the Washington Examiner, Sarah Westwood. Sarah, thanks so much for being on the program today. You know, I'm a lawyer, so let's start with the law, right? Let's go right to the Freedom of Information Act. I look at this and I think, isn't she basically end-arounding the Freedom of Information Act, the whole point of which is so that we Americans can know what our government officials are doing on our time?
You're absolutely right. This is being seen by a lot of people as a way to get around the Freedom of Information Act. When people file requests under this law, they file them to the State Department. But what having her own server has enabled her to do is have complete control over what she gave the State Department. So it really takes the control over what the public gets to see out of the hands of the government and into her own hands personally. And that is the way that she's getting around this law.
Well, let's talk about the tweets, right? Because I understand that she recently tweeted, oh, well, take my emails. Everyone can look at my emails. But that isn't really the case, right? So what's happening with the access that's being granted by Hillary Clinton?
Right. I mean, if she wanted to have her emails be made public, like she said in the tweet, she would have complied with the law in the first place. But that being said, the tweet misses the whole point of what the problem is. The problem is not that the State Department won't let the public see the emails. The problem is that Hillary won't let the State Department have the emails in the first place. You know, it's been made clear in the days since this became public that it was her own aides that pick and chose which emails the State Department got to have, and it turned out to be about 55,000 pages that she turned over. So what you're seeing now is that there are questions raised as to what did she hold back? What did she not give the State Department?
And how do you think, I mean, obviously right now she's in the trenches in the investigation with the Benghazi attack. What do you think, or how do you think this is going to play into that investigation? Because you already have people saying, we need to see these emails, and her own staff is saying, oh, don't worry about it. You know, there's nothing to be seen in those emails. How do you think it's going to play in with Benghazi?
So only time will tell how the Benghazi Select Committee chooses to handle these private emails. There's been talk of hiring a third party, a neutral third party, to go through the emails. That will be, you know, a little unorthodox, but definitely not unwarranted. But what's going to happen if we don't get control of her servers is that we'll always wonder, whatever conclusion the Benghazi Select Committee reaches, if it's based on the full picture. We'll never know if there's missing pieces in whatever report they ultimately put out, because we don't have all of the emails, and we may never will, because they're completely under Clinton's control.
You know, I look at this and I think, obviously, she's about to start, you know, it won't be long until her bid comes out for the presidency. And transparency, I mentioned this earlier, but transparency is really the currency of a campaign, right? So President Obama was able to really successfully campaign on that in his first election. People got excited about the idea that we were going to have this open government and everyone was going to know what was going on. I mean, that really hasn't happened, obviously, but it was a very successful campaign strategy. And you see, in the light of this newest email scandal, Jeb Bush quickly jumped on and said, I have an open website where you guys can look at any email that I've sent, and he's quickly been able to, you know, I'm all for transparency. How much is this going to impact her in the upcoming election?
Again, only time can tell in that one. People have short memories, but transparency has been a problem that has plagued the Clintons for decades. You saw it when Bill Clinton was in the White House. You definitely saw it when she was Secretary of State. You're seeing it now with her foundation. We don't know, you know, the kinds of people who are donating to her foundation completely. You know, we just don't know a lot of what goes on behind closed doors with the Clintons. It will be difficult, if not impossible, for her to make transparency a plank of her platform. If anything, she is going to try to downplay the importance of transparency and play up other aspects of her record. But that's obviously not something she's going to be able to tout as a success. I mean, especially given the outrage that everyone has expressed over these emails.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I unfortunately think that because we're in a little bit of a legal gray area, which, that's how lawyers like myself make money, but we're in a little bit of a legal gray area. As a result, it's hard to really throw the book at her, right? Because you look at some of the previous secretaries of state, and they used personal emails as well. Karl Rove, he used personal emails. So it certainly wasn't just Hillary Clinton that did this, but we need to address it because the security concerns, I'm terrified by them with the hackers that are out there. If this is your own personal account, obviously they aren't IT experts. It makes me very, very nervous that it was open for anyone to potentially get their hands on, let alone the potential violations of the Freedom of Information Act. So, Sarah, thanks so much for being on the program. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate your insights.